Do you want to capture more cinematic footage with your Canon EOS M50? Well, in today's video, I've made a list of things to help you achieve just that. So let's get right into it. Alright, what's going on everyone? My name is Jeremy Gray, and if you're new to the channel, then welcome. In today's video, we're going to go over some tips and tricks to help you get more cinematic footage with your Canon EOS M50. So by now, we all know that the EOS M50 by Canon is a very capable little camera. It's really geared towards the vlogger, but it's very capable to do many other things. I've seen some people put out amazing videos with this camera. And a quick disclosure, I really don't like using the word cinematic, especially when it comes to making my YouTube videos, but there is ways to get more cinematic shots with your M50, and I'm here to help you with that. So lighting is going to be super important whether you're shooting stills or video. I went over lighting in my how to take better photos with your EOS M50 video. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. I'll put a link up here. But to reiterate, lighting is going to be so important. The time of day in which you shoot is going to affect your shots quite a bit. And to be honest, shooting when it's really sunny, harsh light in the middle of the day is not going to be the most cinematic thing you can do. You're going to want to shoot around sunrise or sunset. It's going to look much, much better. The reason for that is the light is just going to be a lot more attractive in those two times. There's blue hour, there's golden hour, and midday, everything's super high contrasty in a really bad way. The shadows are super harsh. The highlights are super blown out typically, unless you get a really nice cloudy overcast day, which I have right now, but I'm also in the woods under some trees. If I was out in the open, it would be a lot different. So my tip for you with lighting is gonna be try to pick when you're gonna shoot. And if you're shooting alone, hopefully you can go out whenever you want. And if you're shooting with other people, hopefully your schedules align. Do your research, check the weather, see when it's going to be cloudy, when it's going to be sunny. Hopefully it's not raining unless you want the rain, but try to shoot at those ideal times when the sun is just coming up or when it's about to head down. It's going to look so much better. Alright, so steady shots. Typically steady shots are going to look a lot more cinematic than something that's really shaky, especially if you're hand holding it. Now keep in mind there's perfectly acceptable conditions for shaky or handheld looking footage. Maybe it's an action or a sports sequence or like a documentary. Then the shaky or handheld looking footage wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Think of like The Office, the TV show. It's not always steady at all, but it still looks great. Now there's a number of ways that you can get steady shots, and if you're trying to shoot handheld, then that's just gonna come with time, practice, and patience. That's what it's gonna take, and you'll eventually get better at hand holding. Stuff like IBIS will help you and the stabilization that are in some of the lenses, but at the end of the day, it's really gonna matter how much you practice. And if you wanna use something else such as a gimbal or a Steadicam or a glide cam, all those things out there, you can do that. Now these are expensive and they are also tools that require a lot of practice. So let me show you really quick a short sequence that I shot handheld, and then I tried to replicate the same thing with a gimbal. I'm not going to stabilize either end of the footage in post, no handheld or gimbal stabilized footage, which is straight out of the camera so you can see the difference. And I have been practicing handheld shooting for years now and I'm not great at it, so you can really see the difference. Now don't go think that you have to buy a gimbal in order to get cinematic shots. There's so many other alternatives to do. Just having patience, planning your shot, not just shaking around and looking for shots, stuff like that. Using a tripod like I'm using right now, there's plenty of ways to get shots where you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on a gimbal. You can just buy a tripod off Amazon for like 20 bucks. It won't be the best, but it'll hold your camera steady. So lens choice is gonna play heavily into what your image looks like, of course. And now I'm not saying that you can't get cinematic shots with any lens. It's just that some lenses are gonna look better consequently because of how they produce the image. And while you can get really good shots with this kit lens that comes with the M50, the 15-45, it is definitely not the most ideal lens for getting cinematic shots. So if you can and you're ready to upgrade, get rid of this lens, okay? And there's a better alternative, something like this 22mm f2 that's native for the M50. Now, if you put this lens on, it's just a much better fit to get cinematic shots. I love this lens. I've been shooting this lens for a few months now, and I really do enjoy it. A major difference with shooting a prime lens opposed to a zoom kit lens is you're gonna have a lot wider of an aperture, which is gonna help you produce better bokeh, and it's gonna look more cinematic overall. And now, I'm not saying bokeh is the key to cinematography or making things look cinema. It's just a nice little thing that you can use, especially when you're shooting people and tight shots. The wider aperture is also gonna give you a lot more versatility at sunrise or sunset, lower lighting conditions, so you're gonna just be able to shoot more stuff that you want and not have to worry about not being able to capture it or having too much noise because you have to pump your ISO or anything along those lines. And keep in mind, a lens like this 22mm on the EOS M50 gets a crop, so it becomes more like a full frame 35, which is a fantastic focal length. That's what this video right now is being shot on, a 35mm. And I love that focal length. It's very natural and you can get some really cinematic stuff with that focal length. And again, I do want to say that you can get cinematic shots with whatever lens you're using as long as you know what you're doing and you practice, practice, practice. So variable neutral density filters. I talk about these a lot on my channel, and that's because they're super, super helpful, especially when you're using a wider aperture lens like the 22mm f2. If you want to keep that wide open aperture and not move your shutter speed, you're going to need to put a variable neutral density filter on your lens. Essentially what it does is it blocks more light from coming in, so it's like sunglasses for your camera, which will allow you to keep that wide open aperture so you can get the more cinematic shot. And the reason you want the variable ones over, say, like the stagnant ones, the ones that don't move, just a regular neutral density filter, is because you want to be able to adjust it on the fly while you're shooting. Over, say, like the stagnant ones, the ones that don't move, just a regular neutral density filter, is because you want to be able to adjust it on the fly while you're shooting. Now, there's a reason these are so useful. Cinema cameras typically have neutral density filters built into them. There's buttons on the sides of the cameras that you can just hit and add neutral density filters or take them off, and that is so useful. So these are extremely useful tools that you can use to help you acquire more cinematic shots. I want to give you a visual example really quick of the variable neutral density filter in action. So I've got mine on my lens right now set to 4 stops of light. Let me bring it down to its minimum setting of 2 stops. I just twisted, really easy. Now look at the difference, I'm overexposed. This is raw footage, flat image right out of the camera. I'm not gonna color grade it. If I go right down back to 4, that is about exposed how I would want it exposed for my style of shooting. So you can see how quick and easy it could be. I could even add more. I've got 5 stops on here, but that's too dark. So yeah, on the fly, you could just adjust the exposure. Really, really, really useful tool. And also, everybody, please do bear in mind, just because you own a camera or a lens or a certain piece of gear, or because you watch tutorials like this one or anybody else's, doesn't mean that you're gonna get cinematic footage right away. You need to go out and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and keep practicing. That's the only way you're gonna get better, unless you're some kind of prodigy. Then, well, I'm jealous. Either way, you gotta put the hours in. That's the only way you'll get better. So I hope these tips and tricks helped you out, and I hope that you go put them into practice to help get more cinematic footage and just practice overall with your shooting. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for future content. If you have any more questions, drop a comment down below. I will get back to you. If you're curious about any of the gear that I use to make my videos, like the variable neutral density filter that I mentioned in this video, there'll be Amazon affiliate links down in the description. If you click those, they bring you over to Amazon. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much again for being here. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and that means a lot to me. Super big milestone for myself. If you made it this far, comment tacos, and I'm gonna keep continuing to enjoy Vermont autumn in Vermont. It's quite beautiful. Anyway, see you in the next one. Bye. This lens is broken. It's the lens that I broke in Vietnam, so it's just kind of a prop now, and I was able to throw it, and it was really fun. So I don't throw good good lenses. This thing is broken. It does not. It works, but the image is absolutely terrible. Anyway, bye.